As we continue to be in the middle of a global pandemic, we're also in the middle of an historic presidential campaign.
Marquette Law School poll director Charles Franklin joins us now to discuss his latest findings. Hi, Charles.
Hi, Charles.
Hey, good to be here. Even the plague can't chase politics out of the picture.
That's right. But you did look at the plague and you asked people about safer at home. What was the reaction?
Yeah, people are still willing to think it's appropriate to have the shutdowns. 69% say that's the appropriate reaction. 26% say it's an overreaction. That has shifted from last month when it was an overwhelming 86% that said it was appropriate and just 10 that said it was an overreaction. So this is still a very solid majority. If someone wins an election with 69%, that's a landslide, but it's not the near unanimity we saw last month. And the reason is really Republicans, who were over 75% in support of the shutdown in March, but are now split evenly about 45-45 between whether the shutdown is appropriate or an overreaction now. Democrats are still 90% in favor of it.
You also asked a question about normalcy returning and when that's going to happen.
People are a lot more pessimistic than they were 6 weeks ago. Back in March, 71% thought we would be over the virus and getting back to normal by August. Today, that's down to just 38%, and over 50% believe it'll be next fall or later than next fall. So a real shift there. Even as there's a little more desire for us to speed up the opening, there's also a real change in the idea of when we really will be safe to reopen. When we ask people, what's the bigger risk, opening up too soon or not opening up soon enough? It's about 53% that say opening too soon is the bigger risk, but it's now 40% that say opening too slowly is a risk. So that's still a minority, but it's now a pretty significant minority. We're going to see more pressure for reopening, I think, unless, of course, we see a big spike in the disease.
Interesting. All right, let's talk politics. You looked at the 2020 presidential race.
It hasn't changed much since last month. All these other things are going on, but Joe Biden had a 3-point lead in March. He has a 3-point lead now. Lots happened, hasn't changed that race. That is inside the margin of error, I should say. If you average all of our polls from October till now, Biden's lead has averaged 2.6 percentage points, and he's up 3 points now. So there's just not much of a trend from October until now.
People's minds are on other things, perhaps.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. Let's talk a little bit about the special election last night in northern Wisconsin and what the results showed.
Yeah, it was a solid win for Tom Tiffany, the Republican there. That is a very Republican district, one that Scott Walker won with 60-something% of the vote. I think Tiffany was at about the same level. You can see a little bit of shifting within the district. St. Croix County, for example, has been drifting a little less Republican in recent years. But overall, it performed pretty close to where you might expect it to, pretty close to the way that Scott Walker did there in 2018. We do have election. That seat's up again in November in the midst of a presidential election. So how things look for the fall, I don't think this special election was much of a harbinger one way or the other. If the economy and the COVID virus move in a good direction, that could be good for the president and good for Republicans down ballot. If the virus is getting worse or the economy is not recovering, then that would be bad for the president, bad for Republican incumbents. And so we'll have to wait and see.
President Trump carried the 7th district by 20% in 2016, and Tiffany had 14%. There's a little erosion there.
That's right. And if you compare Tiffany with Trump, it's down some. If you compare Tiffany to Walker in 2018, it's pretty similar. I wouldn't read too much into it. this is about half the turnout in this election that we expect to see in November. All those extra voters could matter. As I say, it's generally a Republican-leaning district, but if you saw a surge of Democratic voters coming out and a national swing in that direction, it'd be interesting to see what happens in that district. And as I say, if the economy looks like it's on a recovery path and the virus is under control, then that'll be a different picture for the fall. Yes. But it'll be national forces that shape this, not just the local candidates.
A lot of ifs out there. Charles, thanks for being with us again. Stay safe.
Great to see you, Charles. Thanks so much.
You too. Take care. Bye-bye.